Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks so much for joining us. Tonight, a deep cut. The public school board cuts programs and spending despite passionate pleas from parents. Lost in Translation, an expo aims to overcome language barriers and connect newcomers with healthcare. And Windsorites share their hopes and fears of a second Trump presidency. We'll have lots on the U.S. election coming up shortly, but first, let's start with the big cuts at the public school board, impacting hundreds of kids across Windsor-Essex, all as the board attempts to fix a serious deficit.
Sorry, could you clear the room, please? They're being disruptive. They're being disruptive.
You can hear the frustration in the background.
Please.
Parents and educators disappointed by a decision by the Greater Essex County District School Board. With 2 trustees in opposition, the board approved a 2-year recovery plan mandated by the Ministry of Education. It means a special education program called RISE is losing funding, plus more than 60 jobs cut. The International Baccalaureate program will also be impacted, all in an effort to balance a budget that's $6.4 million in the hole. Parents who filled the room pleaded against this, especially against what's being described as the, quote, restructuring of RISE, the half-day program that helps students with disabilities with math and literacy.
The program has been a lifeline for students who prefer not to attend school because of how challenging a regular classroom can be for them. The program is the only support my child receives at school for his education. The multi-year financial recovery plan seeks to eliminate RISE under the guise of a so-called restructuring in order to address the $6 million deficit. The solution is on the backs of children with disabilities.
Imagine being a child who struggles in reading or communicating and knowing that there's less support coming your way. Imagine being a parent who knows their child's potential but sees that potential hindered by a lack of resources.
Essentially, the board cut items that are not funded by the province. Parents say their children are being abandoned, a notion the chairperson for the board refutes.
There was nothing tonight about how we're just abandoning vulnerable students. That's not happening. It's never happened with this board. So I don't understand why there's accusations that aren't accurate.
But parents are firm that the decision will hurt their kids.
I'm going to be very sad when they eliminate the program.
It's a very sad day for parents, children, teachers.
I'm devastated. A small part of me thought that we were going to get a different result.
They rubber stamped a proposal that will actually destroy children's lives.
Next, the board says it will have consultations about how to move forward with the changes, though some parents continue to question why those consultations didn't happen before the decision was made. Everyone is talking about how Americans have decided who will be their next president. And depending on their view of Donald Trump, they're either celebrating or commiserating. Our Chris Ensing has been leading our coverage from across the river in Michigan, and he looks at how that ever-crucial swing state went the Republicans' way.
Americans in Michigan have voted to send Donald Trump back to the White House. And, well, for many, this was about giving him the power of the presidency. For others, it was about removing that authority from the Democrats.
This auto shop in Auburn Hills with the e-bike out front, the American flag on the side, it's run by Chuck Kakarli.
Again, if I would see the card, I would probably be more precise.
He says his main ballot issue is the conflict in Gaza. Kakarli feels the current administration isn't doing enough to put an end to it. It's why he says he could not vote for Kamala Harris.
It was our daily bread. Whether at churches or mosques or social halls, that's number one topic. They cannot stop this warmonger of killing people. They could. They have no will.
He voted third party, knowing it likely helped give Trump the presidency.
Yeah, he's gonna probably close the borders for people who look like me and sound like me. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. He's not gonna be Mr. Perfect.
At this election watch party, people who proudly voted for Trump.
In comparison to Harris and Trump, Trump's setup for the whole safety thing was more on the higher standard.
And with a change election in Michigan, there's that threat that people make, that they'll move to Canada. This Trump voter and Motor City realtor is not buying it.
No, I'm not worried about that at all. I do know a couple people moving there currently, but it has nothing to do with that.
I asked Harris supporters how they would feel, what they're worried about if they woke up and Trump was elected. They said they're worried about the economy, the same thing Trump voters told me they were electing him to fix. Chris Hensing, CBC News, Detroit.
Canadians have been taking in the results here as well. Here's how some of you are feeling.
A little worried about the future, how everything's going.
I feel the same. I think Everett feels the same too.
I'm pretty disappointed in the whole thing. I believe he's a despicable man, but I think as Canadians we just need to deal with what it is and we need to move on from here.
The Americans aren't ready for a woman president, and they're certainly not ready for a black woman president.
It is what it is. It's their country. They have every right to vote the same as we do here. And it's good to see that the American citizens had put their vote to use.
I'm shocked. I'm also not entirely surprised. I gotta process it.
Sorry, guys. Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Colette.
It's just, I realized at the last second, today, as you know, take your kids to work day. And
Yes.
I have the graphics up on the system from that. So
That
if
is
you give me
absolutely
one
okay, Colette.
second, I've got to punch this up properly. Let's see. Stick with me.
That's all right. Well, while you're doing that, why don't you give us a quick little update here about how beautiful the weather it keeps holding up.
I know, we're so lucky, right? We just keep getting better and better. I can't get these to pop over for me, so we'll just talk about what's going on with the temperatures. In fact, that it's 17 degrees, but we were up to 21 degrees again today. And tomorrow we do cool down a little bit, but then, well, after that, it's still not too bad. I'll have more on all of this coming up.
Sounds good, Colette. We're going to check back in with you later on. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
All right, let's turn now to how navigating healthcare services can be challenging for even the best informed. But if you're new to Canada and don't speak the language, it's even more daunting. Today, hundreds of newcomers to Windsor got guided help for accessing health services. Jacob Barker has more.
I'm here where things are just wrapping up at the Multicultural Council's Health and Wellness Expo. It's an annual event that brings together health providers and other services with new Canadians. There are 50 different exhibitors here, everything from mental health supports to kidney health. A nurse practitioner with MCC tells me that for those arriving in Canada from other countries, navigating these services isn't the same as it is in their countries of origin. So this event is about awareness and improving outcomes for the newcomers.
Many countries in the world do not have the types of screening we offer in Ontario. So we now know that cancer screening prevents and catches cancer early. So awareness of these services for the newcomers is important. The other one would be children's development. Many of them do not have services such as, regular well checks for the children.
There are also about 25 translators on hand that speak about 10 different languages, helping people to navigate the room. I spoke with one man who was here with his family. He came to Canada in 2016 from Syria. Through one of the translators, he was able to find some help in the room. Why is it important?
ليش هو هالشيء الموضوع اللي عم نعمله اليوم او وجودك انت هون important مهم؟
انه في حدا يعرفنا على الخدمات.
He has someone to introduce him to the services provided in the community. Something just happened with us because they needed an eye doctor and they couldn't know where to find a decent eye doctor. So because they were here and we introduced them to the booth, so he knew he has to go to this booth there for the city of Windsor, and then he got all the information through 211, I think. So the information, so they gave him step by step what to do.
Organizers here say that every year they hold this event, it's been growing. Last year they say there were about 1,100 attendees, and this year there is about 1,200. In any case, they say that it's a great way for new Canadians to connect with the services they need. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
The Nexstar EV battery plant will employ more than 200 people once complete. But despite that, there's no city bus that can take workers there. Now, people who work in and visit the Twin Oaks Business Park, located close to Nexstar, are calling on the city to reinstate a bus route into the park. But as Del Molnar reports, there are some issues holding this up that are out of the city's hands.
There hasn't been a bus route in the Twin Oaks Business Park since construction began on the Nexstar battery plant, cutting off access to Banwell Road along Anchor Drive. So buses that used to go right through now need to turn around, and until recently there haven't been those turnarounds to do that. Ward 9 Councillor Kieran McKenzie says even though the turnarounds are nearly ready, Transit Windsor doesn't have the buses needed for the route.
The supplier is telling us that there is a delay due to a part not being available currently. We don't know exactly when that part will be made available, and the buses that we have ordered, as I said over a year ago, will be available.
So right now, the closest anyone can get to the Twin Oaks Business Park by bus is a bus stop over here at Forest Glade Drive and Lausanne Parkway, and then they have to walk all the way across the East Zero Expressway to get to the park. Orthodontist Mark Peretti says it's a treacherous walk for some of his patients and staff to get to his offices.
And there is on many mornings people walking from the Forest Glade area to the Twin Oaks, meaning along the shoulder of the road, right up against the guardrails, probably on about a 6 or 8 inch path of grass.
Emma Nicoletti is one of his patients who takes the bus. Instead of walking, she takes a cab from Tecumseh Mall, which costs her $10.
Because honestly, with so many patients here, those students that come from St. Joe's or from other high schools nearby that would benefit from a bus so that their parents don't have to take time off to bring them to appointments, and also help me out so I don't have to keep paying for a cab.
People who work in the area, such as Angelica LaPera and Megan Farmer, believe a bus service would reduce the number of people driving to the area. Twin Oaks Drive is the only way in and the only way out, and traffic gets backed up. And it will only get worse when Nexstar begins full production.
It's very difficult to leave at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock when most people are leaving. It takes probably 10 minutes to get out of the lights past Twin Oaks Drive there.
The city has extended the length of the advanced turn lane arrow on Lausanne Parkway and Twin Oaks Drive, and Peretti says that has helped. McKenzie has asked traffic operations to report on how to further reduce traffic congestion. He is hoping the new buses will be ready by the time Nexstar begins full production next fall. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
And just a quick correction there. I said at the start of that story that the Nexstar battery plant is going to employ more than 200 people once it's complete. That's supposed to be more than 2,000 people. All right, next, we've got a heartwarming message in a bottle story that was over 2 decades in the making. CBC Windsor's Amy Dodge has more.
A grade 4 student wrote a message, put it in a bottle, and threw it into Lake St. Clair. 26 years later, that bottle is back in her hands. Here's how it happened.
I saw it heading in on the water. I saw the big wave pushing it in, and it almost got me.
The wave almost got you?
Yeah.
And then you picked up the bottle, and what did you see in it?
A letter.
We was very excited that we were going to go look for treasure. Opened it up, read the letter, and it was from a grade 4 student here at his school, St. John the Baptist, in Mr. St. Pierre's class. And I thought, oh, isn't that funny that there's a Mr. St. Pierre here again that teaches grade 4. There was no date on the letter, so I thought maybe this year, maybe last year at most. So we sent it to school. His teacher contacted us later that day and said that it was from 1998. I was shocked.
We put these notices in bottles, and they launched their bottles at the end of the river into Lake St. Clair. A few weeks later, we got one bottle reported in Tecumseh. And if my recollection is right, I think a couple of months afterwards, one was found in Lake Erie, but I can't remember what town was close by. But then that was it. until last week.
What did you think last week when you got the call?
It was wild. The teacher here, the grade 4 teacher, Brielle, she asked me, if this is your student? And I started off, wow, yeah, it is my student from way back when.
A letter in a bottle. This letter is coming from Mackenzie Morris, and I go to St. John the Baptist School. I am in grade 4 in Mr. St. Pierre's class. My letter is about water in the Great Lakes. We read a book called Paddle to the Sea. It was a very good book. The story was about a little boy who carved a paddle person out of wood and put it in the water, and it traveled through all the Great Lakes. The water has been there since God created the world. Isn't it funny to think that you might be drinking the same water Jesus did? P.S. Please contact us at St. John the Baptist School. From Mackenzie Morris.
Do you remember writing it?
Absolutely. I remember writing that, and then he had us seal the bottles in wax. So I think that process really stuck with me. This was also right when our school got like a computer lab. So it was probably in 1998, one of the first things that I ever printed on paper and got to do something with, so that was pretty cool, and it was memorable.
And they almost found it exactly where you threw it in, right?
Yeah, it doesn't travel very far. I think it must have got stuck in some reeds. I wasn't able to ask the young boy River where he found it, but I don't think it traveled very far. It probably just got stuck somewhere, just waiting for us.
Yeah. I love that story so much. Live look outside there. When we come back, we're going to look at the U.S. election once again and the anticipated impact another Trump presidency will have on us on this side of the border. Stay with us. Welcome back. Donald Trump has made a stunning comeback, reclaiming the U.S. presidency after a 4-year absence.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good.
It could take some time for results to determine which party has won the House of Representatives, but the Republicans are leading slightly at this point. They have already won control of the Senate for the first time in 4 years, and it looks like Trump will win the popular vote as well as the Electoral College. The election of Trump could have a major impact on the economy here at home. One of his promises is a minimum 10% global tariff, a tax that could be put on Canadian goods sent to the U.S. Anis Haydari looks at how the Trump administration might affect this country's bottom line.
Exports like billions of dollars in Canadian grain could be hit hard by tariffs.
Any type of distortion in that trade with our American counterparts will have a direct impact on the 65,000 grain farmers whose livelihoods are all across the country.
The soon-to-be and former president saying he wants to impose a 10% charge on anything going into the United States.
It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously.
It may not actually work that way. Tariffs are paid by whoever imports something, so buying from Canada would become more expensive.
Canadian manufacturers are not going to be in a good space if Trump is going to slap on tariffs across the board.
More than just manufacturers, it could affect anything Canada exports to the United States, from agriculture to commodities like steel.
That would impact jobs and investment in those sectors, and therefore that would ripple through the Canadian economy.
Automotive parts cross the border a lot, and higher tariffs could get passed on to consumers buying cars, though industry reps say past experience hints that isn't a concern for Trump.
I don't think he got it on who pays the tariff, but I don't think he cared. What he knew that by making that threat, we'd come to the table with some concessions. That was the important piece.
Stock markets in the United States may be telling us that investors are confident after Election Day, with gains on the Dow Jones and S&P indexes, along with the tech-heavy NASDAQ. Even Bitcoin hit record highs. But closer to home, the Canadian dollar dropped to a 2-year low as the U.S. dollar shot up on the news of President-elect Trump. Anis Haydari, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette Kennedy will be back with us after the break. Stay with us. We've got Colette Kennedy back with us. Colette, the mild temperatures, they keep on coming. I mean, today we had people in t-shirts outside again. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, we've just been so lucky and blessed, really, with all the mild conditions, considering, you know, we're getting into November now. And really, when I look ahead towards mid-month, really, temperatures more often are going to be above seasonal than below. But we do have a few resets that are kind of happening. So just showing you what's going on with the jet stream. And we do have a pretty deep trough, but that's to the west of us. It's pretty amplified here. But through tomorrow, we get into, at least for this region, a more zonal flow, which means no big extremes up or down. And it kind of means that, too, for the temperatures. If anything, it rises a little bit into Friday. And the only little divot we have is a bit of a trough, so a bit of cooler air that's going to drop in into Saturday. And the other thing to keep in mind with the jet stream, though, is it's not just kind of that dividing line in general between cooler air to the north and warmer air to the south. It's also the storm track kind of pulls the systems in and across. So we will have into Sunday a system coming across the Great Lakes, and that's our next kind of chance or significant chance for some rainfall. Our current readings after going up to 21 degrees, now down to 16. Westerly wind, not very strong, a little bit stronger there coming in off the lake, a little bit of a cooler feel there for Sarnia. And yeah, at times, of course, we've had some of that cloud cover, but that's with a ridge of high pressure building in, something that will be dissipating or eroding. We'll see less and less cloud cover as we get through the next couple of days and more sunshine. So we just got to allow that kind of move in and set up, and then we'll start pushing these away. So some of that cloud cover tonight, and then tomorrow with the clearing skies, quite a bit of sunshine, not only Thursday into Friday, Saturday looking pretty good as well. There will be a little bit of cloud to the east, but not so much for us. I do want to just point out what's happening in western Cuba right now. A lot of power outages there. The risk of mudslides, landslides there with Hurricane Rafael was up to a Category 3 major hurricane, a Category 2 now. But after this, it is going to encounter Rafael, is going to counter some wind shear. And so then it's just kind of meandering. So not sure kind of where it will eventually end up after that. I do want to point out now, for the overnight hours, our overnight temperatures are very mild and above seasonal too. So lows in the range 6-7 degrees through the overnight. Tomorrow still above seasonal, just not into the 20s. So 14, Friday 14. There's that little dip in the jet stream I was showing you. So only 11 on Saturday, and those rain showers that'll be coming in into Sunday as well. And then just carrying on from there. Again, those temperatures, maybe not 10, 15 degrees above seasonal Catarina, but 3 to 5.
Thank you so much for that, Colette, and thanks to you all for watching. And Colette and I will see you back here tomorrow.